2018. Where the hell are we? Do you have a shaman on speed dial?
Welcome to a spontaneously recorded episode of the Shaman's Tech Support. Recorded in a car, so sorry about the, car noise. But I think it's worth it. It's March 11th, 2018. I am here with Shonagh Home, and we are driving to the Mount Rainier area to get water.
From our spring.
Our
trusty spring.
And we thought we'd do just a quick IV drip of shamanic wisdom because setting the table for 2018, the podcast number 3 of the Shaman's Tech Support became resetting the table for 2018 after life happened, and then 5 weeks elapsed, and now it's just kind of like being in a class 3 rapids, and episode 3, setting the table for 2018, is like a branch that you just blew by, and I'm trying to swim back up and get it, and it's like there's too many pieces. But it was so great because I am going to go back and fish it out because Shonagh read a poem. Brandy, our rock goddess from Austin, did a sonic
sound journey.
The sound journey
was awesome.
And so those will see the light of day. Good. For now, it's 2018, and I am wondering if people are noticing patterns in 2018 yet, similar to the patterns in 2017, that would lead one to say, oh my God, that is so 2017. And only in the last few weeks have I started noticing something and saying, oh, that's what 2018 is. Do you know what I mean?
Well, elaborate on that.
Elaborate meaning that the synchronicities are even more insane. Now it's not like you think of someone and they call you. It's like you're dialing and then the phone and then the call comes in.
Yes, that's actually happened to me.
And then the shifts themselves, the out of the blue shifts are, the chunks are bigger.
The chunks are bigger.
The chunks are bigger. It's like big things like moving or career changes, career changing on a dime. Things changing really quickly if you can stay out of fear, stay out of victimhood, stay out of martyrdom.
Well, and if you can, those would be your dragons. Tame your dragons. Tame your fears, tame your emotions, tame your younger parts, aspects of yourself, and fine-tune your mind.
Fine-tune your mind. Tell me what that means for you, because...
Okay, fine-tune the mind means, for me, just for me, to start to realize how everything we've been told is a bald-faced lie. Just maybe not realize, maybe most people aren't ready to realize, unfortunately, because the indoctrination is so intense, but to consider that what we're in is a construct. It wasn't created by our folk. No, it was not. This vast system that we are in is a construct, and everything that we see on the media, everything we've been taught is absolute nonsense. It's a lot. And it's all done to divert us away from the spark of genius that is in each and every one of us. Because this beautiful nature that we're driving through right now didn't just show up. Something created that. Some genius architect came up with things that you and I couldn't even possibly dream up in terms of these insects and birds and plants and flowers and atoms and molecules and all of this, all right? There's some kind of genius behind all of that. And we have have been so swept up in the spell of the construct. And all of these people operating in what we call government, they're all actors. I keep thinking of this, I've said this before, how Shakespeare said all the world's a stage and every man and woman a player on it. And so they have different roles or titles that they assume. And then they create these situations and there's spells. And money is a huge spell. Oh my goodness.
How so?
A huge spell. In that, okay, it used to be that people it was literal, you would trade something for something, and that had value, those had value. Then, I believe it was Queen Semiramis decided, well, let's do a coin, and the coin will have a picture of that wheat, whatever it was that they were trading constantly, and that gold coin, with my picture on it, of course, will now stand for the actual real property, if you will, And so people started using coins, and then it developed from there. But really, when you think about it, for the absolute necessities, you could have a pile of gold and starve to death. But money has become such a spell in that everything now has a price on it. Everything has a price. Like, it's affected the very way we think. And of course, we can't survive in this particular I wouldn't say we can't. Well, we can't. Most people can't survive in this construct without some kind of money. And if you try to say, well, look, I'd really like that land, so what if I gave you, traded for it? That's not going to fly in this system. It won't be recognized. So the whole thing I'm seeing is an overlay, an ancient overlay. The system's very old that we're in. It didn't just show up, 100 or 200 years ago. This thing is old.
Sometimes it's hard to believe that something is as easy and amazing as it turns out to be. Like, it's hard to trust that. Like, we actually were on the right road, and it actually is only 2 turns.
That's a great metaphor.
And so it's like...
And trust. There's trust, Sarah.
It's trust, but we still had to stop, turn on our phone, find out if technology confirmed that we were going in the right direction.
Well, actually, all right, fine. I'll let you have that. But I did see that sign. I was like, we're good to go.
No, you did.
Yeah.
And now we were talking about how to protect yourself against other people's draining old stories about you, where it somehow in their world it's in their best interest to keep you, I guess, small, right?
Yeah. Well, keep you in your role within their reality. And so most of us go unconscious, especially when we go back to our family. We go unconscious, and then the younger one in us that's still unhealed, that still buys into all that dynamic, takes the wheel. And then it's a mess, and then you leave and you're like, why did I do that? Why did I say that? What was I thinking, right? Because a part of you is still under that spell.
I know. And I'm hearkening back to episode, I think it was, 6 or 7, when we were driving to get water again, and I was in the exact same position, although slightly shifted. It's like how to not curl into a fetal position.
Okay,
around your family.
I'm telling you, this is about spells, the whole thing. I got the best advice. The one major takeaway from all of the mushroom journeys I've had so far with these, I would call them tutelary spirits, teaching spirits that I encountered, was telling me it's all a spell, dear. Everything is a spell. That's where spelling a word comes from, okay? And so and spells only work if you believe in them. And so we've got to be on our game. Like everywhere you go, you've got to remind yourself that's a spell, he's under a spell, she's under a spell. Okay? And
what's the opposite of being under a spell?
Seeing, being able to see beyond see through the spell, realization, seeing with real eyes. That's a spell and nothing more. Or you could call it a perspective. It is but a perspective or a perception and nothing more.
Give a concrete example of a spell.
Government. Okay, there's a spell. Government, Latin is govern, which means to control. Menta is mind. So government literally means mind control. And so what they used to do, of course, they'd make a decree, and then that would be put on paper, and that would be taped or nailed onto different doors, or someone would come out and call a gathering of people and read from the scroll from the king. Okay, and all of that, it's just, so what? It's one dude's opinion. But everybody agrees, this is consensus reality. Oh no, they're a king. Now granted, people can say, well, yeah, they're a king and they've got warships, a fleet of warships, and you bet they're king because they'll kick your ass if you don't agree, if you don't comply. Yes, and even the people, their underlings, are agreeing. In other words, it takes people to prop up a declaration like that. And so until this seems like an eternal spiritual journey we're on, that unless and until people realize what they are, those two words, know thyself, we are going to remain in this mess. Now, we are at a crossroads, more than just a crossroads here. We're in World War III. And if you don't believe it, go online. You can download the PDF. What it is it's public notice. It's called Quiet Weapons for Secret Wars, I believe, by Michael Aquino. Okay? We're at war. Our water's being poisoned. Our air is being poisoned. The indoctrination is just out of control on every level, okay? We're at war. And this is not going to get any better until people realize who and what they are. And so, who are you? I can't answer that for you, but I can say for myself, I am deepening into this understanding that I am a child of Creator, God. And that means the apple doesn't fall far. And I have shown up here in this reality. I'm on a sojourn. A sojourn is it's temporary. I'm sojourning here. And the trick here is, of course, you show up as a baby, you forget where you came from, so you forget what you are. And then you are raised by people who are under a spell, your parents or whoever raises you, to whatever degree they're under, and you adopt all of that. But then at some point, can you begin to see through the spells, the layers upon layers upon layers of spells, and realize that your conditioning, your mind is blanketed with belief systems, with spells. And I was saying to you earlier how we know that we can make ourselves very sick by how we think there are people who have cured themselves of the incurable by how they think. And there were indigenous folk who knew how to do a rain dance to bring in rain when there was a drought, and they shut those guys down. Now, if that stuff was nonsense, why would you need to shut them down? Do you see? And so there's so much that the mind is capable of, and that is what I personally am focusing on now. What can I create? What can I call to me? And I'm getting bigger with that. And then at the same time, I have been very fascinated by Cal Washington, who has started that group. It's called Empowered, and they are standing up to the tyranny of smart meters and the 5G and all of this that is technology that's being imposed on us with no testing. Well, now that's not true. They've known since the 1920s or beyond how dangerous all these electromagnetic radio microwave frequencies are. All right, we're being bathed in that. These guys are standing up to these people, using their own system against them, and holding individuals commercially liable for damages. Now, that is huge. That's huge. And they were saying it works when you, and things will change entirely when you realize who you are. And so that I would stress emphatically, to start to consider what is the enervating force behind all these trees on surrounding us on the roadside here, behind life, and the master intelligence that thought that up and that designed our bodies, which do not need any kind of robotics. Fuck you very much. I'll stick with my biology, which is absolutely epic genius. But the more we are swayed by these Pied Pipers of deception into, oh no, you need this. Oh no, try this. Then we're not focusing on the genius of our mind-body matrix. And so you bet it's a spell. These guys are spellcasters, sorcerers. Oh, I know where we are now. It's right there.
Yeah.
I'm going to turn around up here.
Okay, we have reached the secret spring. And what's the website where we find?
Findaspring.com.
Yeah, findaspring.com.
Who's calling you?
Okay, we are on our way back to unincorporated King County. Shonagh, any last thoughts?
Well, it's important to, when I was talking earlier about this imposition of technology in the form of smart meters, 5G, and then of course we've got the aerosol spraying in the skies, and on and on and on. This all happens with our consent. And people might say, well, I didn't consent to that. I wouldn't consent to that. No one asked me. Well, they have to give notice of what they're doing. That is part of this system that we're in. You must give notice if you're going to do something that affects people. And so when the electric companies send out that letter saying they're going to implement smart meters, or they're announcing these smart meters, that's giving notice. And it's also an offer to contract with you. And if you don't object, then there's a maxim of law that says he who does not object appears to agree. And so when we stay silent, that is known as giving tacit acquiescence. You're acquiescing to something because you didn't rebut it, you didn't object. So And a lot of people think, well, I can't, I'll get in trouble or I'm afraid or whatever. And this is why it's so important to know yourself, because who are these people? They have zero authority over you. They only have authority if you give them authority. And then, of course, there are these different contracts that we sign without realizing how much we're giving away, because it's not stated in the contract. And if it's not stated in the contract, then that's null and void. So much of what is done fraudulently. And so consent is huge. It's huge. And this is a time now where we have to start objecting, because if we don't, we will have only ourselves to blame. And you know what? Knowledge truly is power, because the more you understand of how the law of contract works. I mean, I think we all contracted to be here. The more you understand that, the more empowered you become, because then you can truly navigate and conduct yourself in a way where you're not going to be harmed in the way that we are being right now. And that's why I'm so impressed by what Cal Washington has put together with this empowered movement. And they have a website called empowermovement.com, I believe. You can just Google it. You'll get the website and watch their documentary. And then there's a second part where they tell you how to implement the documents that are there for you to use. It's very exciting. It's huge. And I think of this as the second coming of Christ. So Christ is oil, or the balm, BALM. And so oil was used to light the lamps back in the day. And what do we call certain lamps? Headlamps. Well, your entire mind is a lamp, and most people's lamps aren't even turned on these days. But the more of us who do light the inner lamp, the stronger we become. And that's why there's that saying, when two or more are gathered in my name. And again, however you wish to think of Christ. And I can assure you, by the way, because we've been lied to on every level, that everything we've been told about Christ, about Christianity, so much of it has been profaned, and it was never meant to be a church. And it's a way of living where you are living in freedom. So lots to explore. I would recommend starting with the empowered movement, because that will blow your mind. And what they're doing is getting results, and the results will continue as more of us begin to adopt a deeper level of understanding.
Well, I would say that my observation includes...
Wait, by the way, what I pointed, you missed.
What was
that
it?
house just had a huge Christ on the front of it. A statue of Jesus on the front of their house. No, but that's wild. I was just talking about it. Talk about the timing.
Well,
this is what I'm saying.
Well, that's what I'm saying too. The surprises are more shocking and bigger, and the synchronicities as well.
Well, yeah. And you know what? Because now I need to do more research on this, but I read recently that what is that resonance on the Earth? The Earth's planetary, the Shaman resonance is changing. Earth is changing. And we are part of Earth. We're Earth beings. And so what all of these electromagnetic frequencies are doing is they are disrupting the signal that we are supposed to receive, that informs our very DNA. And so that is all a disruption, and it's keeping that intelligence, that informing intelligence, it's dimming that connection. And then we have I think of it almost as a kind of false connection with this internet. That is a very different connection. And yes, it's fantastic in that we can all reach each other in a way that we couldn't before. But I postulate that we have the ability to reach each other, to speak with each other mind to mind. It's just been undeveloped or dormant, shall we say. And what we've got now, this is leading us ever further away from the genius of our own nature and what really is there within us to discover. And so it's this just further externalization when it's really within us. It's not going to be robots or any of this transhumanist nonsense or any of these GMO nonsense. All of that's destroying the living intelligence in favor of an artificial intelligence. And so far more going on here than meets the eye. And I'll tell you what, whatever they put in that media of theirs, I don't buy it, to use a commercial term. I'm not buying it. We're being schnookered. We're being led, probably to a slaughter. And so...
Well, that's nice.
That's
a nice thought.
Yeah, well, you know what? Sorry if that's too negative for people. Sorry if I'm not casting a spell to keep people further...
Well, define slaughter.
It could be quite literal. It could be quite literal. Whoa, shit, dude. God dang. He was following me too closely.
Hope we got that on...
We probably did. I mean, that's why people are not supposed to tailgate, because...
That could have been interesting.
Yeah. He was going a little too fast.
Okay, slaughter. It's like...
Okay, so leading us to the slaughter, meaning that all of the plug could be pulled on all of this. Well, the slaughter also could be in the form of, will be in the form of tyranny. I just read an article recently on how China is starting a social credit system so that if money goes totally digital, then government has absolute control. And so if they don't like what you post on your Facebook,
you can't get Facebook in China. Or no, you're not supposed to, or they control that.
I'm not sure. I believe they do, because one of the stories in this article was saying that this person was saying that people who posted on their Facebook in China saying they didn't like the idea of this social credit system, their accounts, well, look what Facebook's doing anyway already to people, and YouTube also. They are just shutting down accounts of anyone who is bringing through information that they don't agree with. They're just shutting off their accounts. So what will happen to those people is if they go to buy an airline ticket or whatever, it'll say, oh, you can't make this purchase. And then if you go to call that person and their number comes up, it'll say on your phone, this person is subject to, I don't know, whatever, a governmental inquiry, whatever it's going to say. But in other words, you'll be prevented from getting basic services because of your beliefs. And that will be all controlled digitally, you see? And so this seems convenient, and they've gotten all of us very addicted to this. And of course, everybody needs a website so people can find you and whatnot, and podcasts and all of that, which is seemingly great until those who've devised all of this decide to completely tyrannize it, and it can and will be a form of absolute tyranny. And then who can you complain to? I mean, AI, what is that? Do you see? Who do you hold responsible for that? So we are, I will tell you, as whatever, just someone whose eyes are open, that this is not going to end well.
I will say that based on episode 2, You Never Know Who's Listening, I have awakened to a nauseating degree. It would be nothing now for them to record our keystrokes. That's nothing.
Of course they do. And what do you think all these smart appliances are? Your fridge, your microwave, all of these smart appliances are also reporting information that goes to the smart meters. And this is why the smart meter, but this is a big deal. The smart meters are a surveillance system. And then what the power companies are going to do is they're going to then sell all of that information to outside sources. So this is could be billions of dollars in revenue for these guys through the selling of information of our private lives. So that's a big deal. That's a big deal. And then on top of that, the smart meters have caused numerous fires, house fires. People have died. And so they're very dangerous in that regard. And not only are they dangerous in terms of possibly setting your house on fire, but also the waves of
the
electromagnetic waves coming out of these things are terrible for us. They're terrible for us, and they're absorbed by water, and we're mostly water. And so this is why it's like, this is not, freedom is not free, and we have gotten very complacent, and we're tasked now where we've got to wake up. And you're right, waking up is not pleasant, and essentially the slaves are waking up, and that's because we've been enslaved, and the slave system we're in is ancient, and it's only going to get worse. And so we are it is biblical, if you will. This is an old battle, and we're in that book of Revelations. That's the revealing, and where what has been hidden is now being seen. Now, again, I've spoken of how we're in Aquarius, and the age of Aquarius, the symbol for Aquarius shows a human being, and they're holding a large container of water, and they're pouring it forth, meaning that which has been contained or hidden is pouring forth. And this is the information age. And so what's really interesting is, okay, then what are we going to do with it? What will the slaves do with it? If knowledge is coming to them, their whole sense of reality is crumbling, and they are, as you were saying, waking up, then what are they going to do? And that is the $50,000 question.
Well, I used to do a lot more eye rolling when you were talking like this than I do now, because I mean, even when we take our 3 times a week walks in the woods, now you won't even let me take my phone with me. And the one time I did, because we had to know when we were coming back. Remember when we were walking?
How could I forget?
And it popped up, and
okay, well, wait. You have to preface that by what? Okay, so I was talking, and I was talking for maybe 15 minutes or so about, I don't recall, but it was something about government surveillance, or a lot of kind of what we're seeing play out. And I was it was also saying how all of these governments are ultimately a criminal syndicate. I mean, that's really what is running the show. So I was speaking like that, and about 15 minutes later, your phone dings or something, and you pull out your phone from your pocket, and your Siri, which I do not approve of, your Siri...
I think you call her, "You're not bringing that bitch Siri with us." I think
something
that's what
like
you
that.
said.
Yeah. In any case, Siri essentially interjected, is that the right word?
Yes.
Into our conversation, and your phone screen has the term right wing, and then the definition of right
It's true.
wing.
That was a little ominous.
Yeah, that was crazy. So, and I will say also, I'm not right wing and I'm not left wing. And by the way, those are ad hominems, which an ad hominem is part of it's Latin for attack the man. It means that instead of, when you're in an argument, instead of bringing forth a cogent point to counter the point that the other person just made, instead, one is incapable of doing that, so they resort to calling you a name or a term. And so we have this supposedly clever AI that can't even argue, that instead brings forth a term, very interestingly timed, and that's never happened before. And so I burst into flames, essentially, because I do not like when Sarah brings her phone on our walks into the beautiful moss forest. It's an insult to the forest. It's like coming in there and just vomiting everywhere. It's
but
disgusting.
I do like to know that it takes us 9,000 steps. You know what I mean?
Who gives a shit? And so, and it's
a lot
so,
of people
so
care about
it's,
steps.
Yeah, well, in any case, so I have forbidden Sarah from bringing her piece of shit iPhone.
And sometimes,
on our walks.
sometimes I do anyway, because I'm a free sovereign person, and
Well, of course,
and no
you
one
do whatever you want.
You know, and though, and when I go over to her house, she sticks my phone in a tiny
Faraday. It's a little Faraday cage.
a tiny Faraday cage, tiny Faraday cage pouch that looks like the kind of pouch that if you had that summer job at the carnival, and at the end of the day you put all the cash in that little leather pouch, and
That's
that
right.
goes to the bank. It looks exactly like
Yes.
that. I'm like, give me my phone back.
And I'll just tell you that a friend of mine who's in the military, he told me probably 4 or 5 years ago that he has friends in the military who, if they want to have a conversation, they move the cell phone out of the room entirely, if not out of the house, or they'll they'll go for a walk away and leave their cell phone.
True.
And even if the cell phone is turned off, even if you take the battery out, it can still record conversations. And so just think about that. That's crazy.
Well, gosh, I feel like we have come back with a vengeance with episode number 3 of the Shaman's Tech Support. We are clearly not sitting on the couch watching Oprah. We are paying attention.
She's evil. Oprah's evil.
Oh, God.
She's one of the crew. I'll just tell you. Have your eyes open. For God's sake, stop being so goddamn gullible.
She's not speaking specifically to me, although I guess I guess I am the more gullible of the two of us, but some things come out of your mouth that I know are not true.
Bullshit.
Oh, I could name a couple. My 16-year-old son is fascinated with Shonagh. He's like, I just need to sit down and get like the full-on download of her furthest out opinion. So you know she has credibility if a 16-year-old boy is interested in what she has to say. So it is March 11th. The changes are enormous. When something big happens, like, oh, poof, that job is gone, that just means you need to take a breath, turn to the left, turn to the right, look behind you, because there is a big ass window that is just about to open, or has been open and waiting for you. It's time to level up.
It's time to grow up. It's time
Shonagh
to
just
grow up.
snorted level up. That's like a video game term. This isn't Super Mario.
I know, but you know what? What does level up mean? You Grow up, educate yourself, take a big fat step away from the media machine and start getting a real education.
I got nothing to say after that. Love you, mean it. Oh, you can find Shonagh on
ShonaghHome.com.
It's www.ShonaghHome.com. And of course, this will be posted on packingforcrazytown.com, and
you'll put a link for the Empowered movement.
Shall do.
Right on.